Hello, I'm going on. This is the second video, one of two on this day, and this is Werdz, and this is I have two adult education classes. I'll call them a group of men, a group of women. Now the women's class began very late, and as I said before, I wasn't sure I'd be able to get words anyway, but we did get one. Now there. I explained about the oral tradition and about the difference between words that are spoken, words themselves, and then whether or not they're written down. I did that as I had explained to the men, and interestingly enough, oral tradition, I wrote it twice. One of the women said, it's a little bit like piano playing. She said she can play the piano by ear, but she can't read any music. And I never thought about that connection, but yeah, it's a lot like that. The two don't actually go together. Maybe she said that when I was saying that once a culture becomes dependent on reading and writing, they seem to lose that ability that they had before. A deep subject, really, but I love the fact that I learned that. And see, I think of these now as CTLs, co-teaching learners. That's what I think I'm going to call my co-teaching learners from now on. You know, I'm their leader in a sense at the moment, but I don't really feel like I'm their teacher and they're my students. It's not like that. All right, and so anyway, in this process, I also, with the women, covered storytelling a little bit further. I had a purpose for that, and I mentioned Scheherazade as being perhaps the most famous storyteller of all time. One woman had heard the name, she thought. She couldn't come up with it. She came up with Bathsheba, which is an interesting connection. But anyway, Scheherazade, I've got that wrong. I never spell that right. I think I always spell it differently. Scheherazade. Well, it's enough syllables anyway. So we talked a little bit about that. She knew that frame. And I will teach that to the men as well next week. Now, story poems. Here's a copy that I think I'd maybe said I had my son, you know, I've learned you can't see it anyway. One of the copies has come in and I haven't even opened it because I thought maybe if I leave the wrapping, maybe I'll be more likely to be able to leave it there. I learned that the Highwaymen, one of the poems in there, had been recently performed, sung by a popular singer, Lorena, and I'll probably get her last name wrong, so I won't try to say it. Well, one of the things I was hoping for here, and I'm still hoping for strongly, is that since the women's class especially have such an interest in this book, and the poems that are in there that tell stories, they seem to love them, yeah. Maybe I could teach them, can I provide the skills so that they could actually not just consume story poems, but actually produce poetry. And here it had already started. One of them has begun to write poems. I have no idea what they're about, but she'd written like 4 or 5 poems. I imagine they're short, and I doubt very much if they tell a story. I don't know. The same woman recognized scansion from back when she was in 8th grade. That's when you go, hickory dickory dock, and the mouse ran up the clock. This kind of stuff. She faintly remembered that. And see, if I'm going to provide the skills to do, to my satisfaction, a masterpiece, they're going to have that skill, I think, and more. All right. Now, and what I'm really hoping for here is that maybe they could take up the Song of Marion's Daughter, which is now a fragment. The Song of Marion was done many, many years ago by some students of mine, and then students of mine began one called a sequel called The Song of Marion's Daughter, but it's just a fragment. But it's just possible that they may be able to take that up and bring it to a close. We'll have to see. Well, as I keep saying, this whole experience is so intense. And you know, I feel like I need to put these videos on, film them and put them online, because I need to leave a record for myself. Different times I've talked about Ariadne's string, that can, you can find your way back out of a maze if you follow the ball of twine, or roll it back up. You know, I find that is so true in terms of leaving a record of things. Okay, bye for now.